I guess we're live. Hi, my name is Barry Selby. Welcome to my daily Facebook Live chat, talk, dissemination of information, idea, suggestion, conversation starter. This is Saturday, so hence more casual today. And today's topic is inspired by two posts I saw. Yes, social media posts tend to generate my conversational topics, the way it works out. And so I'll get to that in a second. So again, my name is Barry Selby. Did I say that already? Well, if I didn't already, I just did. I am a relationship attraction expert, a passionate champion of the divine feminine, and a best-selling author and speaker. And I'm very passionate about women being supported, served, and living in their feminine heart. That's kind of my underlying message, my work. And today's topic, today's theme, well, let me back up a second. Welcome to Messages from the Masculine. This is number 58 in an ongoing series. In fact, there have been 57 before this, hence this is being 58. And today's topic is self-abuse is optional. And that's actually the third piece in, let me say this. It's kind of, I came to that title because I had two things to say before that, but I wanted to make that one the point, and I'll go back to cover the first two. So you didn't miss anything. You're in the right place. Okay. As I said, I got inspired for today's topic from two posts on social media today, and the truth is that this is probably one of the biggest things that drives my message, that inspires me at the same time, it frustrates me at the same time. At the same time. So how many times I said that? Okay, let me get to the topic. I'm saying self-abuse is optional, and I'm meaning this in the context of relationship choices and partner choices. And there's no delicate way to start this. I'm just going to start in the middle of this. The post that's triggered this morning for me was one of my friends. In fact, I was a guest on her live show on Tuesday, which you can see on Facebook. It was from Tuesday's broadcast, Tuesday evening. She posted about this neighbor or should say a couple who are neighbors, yelling at each other and very abusive at each other. Or I should say him to her. Now, abuse is not gender-based, by the way. It works both ways. But this was a very verbal abuse, not physical, but it's the point, first of all. Abuse is not something that is just where somebody hits somebody else. It can be, but also it can be mental or emotional, verbal, sexual, behavioral. There's abuse has many different layers, but the truth about all of it is that if you remain in situations, you're actually abusing yourself. Now, I'm not excusing the behavior or saying somehow that you're responsible, but I want to make some points to you to get this really clear, because so many people I've seen this put up with this abuse, and the worst case, or the worst situation, at least for me to watch, is to see them choose it again. Like they finally leave the relationship that was so messed up, so emotionally abusive, and yet 2-3 months later, they're in another relationship, well, the same thing's happening again, and they don't even realize it. It's because it's so unconscious / subconscious. So I want to speak to a couple of solutions in a moment, but I want to just explain more of the problem, as it were, before I solve it. You know, I've got to keep hanging in there, as it were. Abuse is something that is, I'd say it's not necessarily it's more talked about, but it's becoming more overt in some ways. And to be honest, watching what's happening politically in this country, abuse seems to be becoming what's the word I'm looking for? Mainstream news, in the sense that it's getting kind of overt in things that are being expressed in a way that is abuse. I mean, watching our, quote, leaders abusing each other, especially when it's men abusing women verbally in the press, it pisses me off, let's be blunt. But let me bring it back to more personal things, because this is for you to take into your own life, because the political stuff is more of a frigging puppet show than anything else. Anyway, I'll get off that, get me off topic completely. That'll be another broadcast, and it's not part of this theme of being messages from the masculine. It will be much as saying indignation or something. Abuse is something that people experience in relationships more often than not, and you may be surprised to know how many people you know who are. I would say, and this is totally not statistical research, I'm just feeling that at least 50% of relationships out there have some form of abuse in them. Now, it's not scientific, it's not proven, I'm just saying this as a fact from Barry that may have no relevance. But just bear in mind of that possibility that every other relationship that you know of may have some abuse in it. Consider that for a fact for a moment. Because that is something that is, unfortunately, surprisingly, hang on, please, no, rewind that. If it is 50% of all relationships out there have some form of abuse, how would you treat them? How would you be aware of them? Have you been in abusive relationships? Again, as I mentioned, there are different levels of abuse. It's not just physical abuse, people who have black eyes or broken lips from fighting. Abuse is something that happens from a level of emotional outrage. To yell at somebody, to deny them something, to be abusive in the sexual realm. Yes, that can be abusive too. It can be done as mental abuse, by holding back or by, well, it's actually, no, let me put it this way. There's a term called gaslighting. It's in the DSM-4, actually DSM-5, that's from a movie back in the 40s. That's part of the narcissistic description, actually sociopathic description too. That is a form of abuse. Because gaslighting is basically mental abuse to actually convince somebody that their life is false, that their reality isn't true, puts them in a place of basically end up self-destruction. That's abuse. So what I want to put in here about self-abuse, because the reality of this is clear to me, because I talked about this before in other talks, and I just talked about this on Tuesday, that we tend to take on our programming at a very young age of how love is expressed. And Bruce Lipton talks about this in The Biology of Belief, and I've mentioned his book before. He says from the age of 0 to 7, I think he goes as far as 8 or 9. Now, he's a scientist, I'm not, so I'm being, take my word for it. But I think in the early formative years of our life, before we become teenagers, our conscious mind, our frontal cortex, isn't actually online yet. We're still at that point from 0 till that age. Sponge is taking the world around us, particularly in this conversation. The way people behave, the adults, the big people around us, we look at the way they behave and think that's the way it should be. So if you look at your parents or whoever raised you, or your uncles, aunts, adults, neighbors even, how they treat each other, especially in couples, we will take that on as belief about the way life is for relationships. So if your parents had abusive experiences with each other, now you may not have been aware of it because it may have been mental abuse, and as a 4 or 5-year-old you may not have understood that. The programming goes in anyway. You take on, yes, you take on, this is the way it is, not a possibility. You take on the way your parents act as the way that you will tend to choose relationships until you learn differently. So first 6, 7 years of life, as I mentioned, that becomes the automatic programming. And then at some point in time, between 7, 8, 9 years old, our frontal cortex, our forebrain, as it were, our conscious mind, comes online, which is going to be the gatekeeper that shuts out and discerns what comes in. Up to that point, our midbrain, which is our subconscious mind, has taken all this programming in for all these years, but the gatekeeper comes in after that's already been programmed. So fast forward 10, 15 years into your adult life, and you're in relationships in your 20s, 30s, 40s even, you may find yourself looking back and realizing there's parallels between your dating life or your relationship experience and that of your parents. Maybe there's a light bulb going off. It was for me when I found this out, and this is a long time ago when I discovered this. It changed my life. Perhaps this will change yours. The recognition of the fact that you have a, what's the word I'm looking for? Undercurrent of programming running in your life can be disconcerting. But I want to make sure you understand this is liberating. This is actually freedom, if you understand this and get this in your awareness. To be aware of the fact that you've been running automatic programming for all these years, decades, is the first step towards changing it. To go back to what I said at the beginning about abusive relationships, I have seen people choose the same relationship experience again and again and again. Even though it's a different person they're getting together with, and even though that person doesn't demonstrate these habits at the beginning, but 3 months, 3 years, 30 years in the relationship, those patterns will keep repeating. It's automatic, because that's what you will attract until you change your programming. So the obvious question, I would suspect, is how do you change your programming? The good news is there are many options. But the thing that I want to make clear is that it's not something you can ignore if you want to change, that is. If you don't have a desire to change your abusive experience, if that's what you're dealing with, so be it. But I would highly encourage you to stop the self-abuse. And the reason why I say self-abuse is when you're aware that you're choosing abusive relationships and you don't leave, that's self-abuse, because you're putting yourself in situations that don't serve you. Now, I understand there are situations where there are kids involved, or there are circumstances where you feel loyalty or desire to help the person who's abusing you. A word of caution. as was taught to me many years ago, that took me about 10 years to understand it and really own it. One of the caveats, one of the rules of living life successfully is take care of yourself first so you can then take care of others. This applies even more in this situation. If you're in an experience where you have been abused and you become aware of it, your first order of business is take care of yourself first, which may mean to remove yourself, change your circumstances, do something different to take care of yourself. Then you can take care of other people, whether it's your ex-partner or your partner's still in a relationship, the kids. As crazy as it sounds, you can't take care of the children until you take care of yourself. I mean, that's why on the airlines they have that whole thing about the oxygen mask. Put your own one on first before you put that on your kids. Because if you try to put it on your kids and you don't make it, you're done and so are they. By putting your mask on first, you'll be able to function and take care of your kids. The same thing is true when you remove yourself from a circumstance that's not healthy for you. Take care of yourself first so you can take care of others. Sorry, take care of yourself first so you can then take care of others. That's the piece I want to make sure it's in there. So, finding ways to solve that. Part of my, again, I have to market myself in these my videos. I'm talking about what I do. Even in my online program, which is helping my clients attract what they really want, I start with them getting clear about what didn't work in the past. Because that's the pivot point. When you get clear about what didn't work in the past, you can get clear about what you want to have in the future. In my coaching, we go way deeper than that. And I hate the word coaching, but it's kind of a blend of counsel and guidance and inspiration. It's a blend that helps my clients really get what they want. Because the reality is, sometimes you need outside help. So if a light bulb went off over your head in this understanding, this teaching, this infomercial, I highly encourage you to get support. Whether that's going to be from a counselor, from books, from a therapist, from somebody that can help you break that pattern from the past, I implore you to take that step, because the self-abuse that you're putting up with in yourself, whilst you're getting abuse from outside, will not get any better until you make changes. I think that makes sense. Okay, so thank you for watching. That was really the one distillation of putting this down. If you want to find out more about my work, please message me over social media. This is going to be on YouTube as well as on Facebook, so either place you can reach out to me if you have questions, comments, put them below and I'll answer them later on. Also, if you know anybody who should watch this, please share this with them. And make sure you're following me on social media. This video will end up on my website, along with the other 56, 57 previous ones, on a video blog page under barryselby.com, so you can find them there. If you have any questions, again, please reach out to me. Please share this out with your friends. I'll be back in tomorrow because I'm committing to daily broadcasts. Right now I'm in the middle of a 21-day challenge, but the challenge is going to be long gone before I finish doing these. There's so much content to talk about. So my message, my mission, my service is to help you have a most amazing life in love, in life, everywhere else. And these are messages from the masculine to inspire the feminine heart. So thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and take care of yourselves. You do deserve the best. That's my reminder to you. Okay, take care. Bye.